In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the quantitative risk assessment for the GLMRIS risk assessment. If you've been looking at the case studies, you'll be familiar with this report. This is the GLMRIS report, the original risk assessment, which was a qualitative risk assessment. So just to review a little bit, we're going to go to page 18 here that has the model. We are looking at the establishment of aquatic nuisance species in a new basin, and we said there is an exposure assessment, and that consists of 5 probabilities as seen here, and there's a consequence assessment which consists of 3 consequences as seen here. We combine these 3 consequences into an overall consequence, combine these 5 probability elements into an overall probability estimate, and then we use these two, the probability of establishment and the consequences of establishment, to come up with a risk of establishment. In a little bit closer detail here, down here at the bottom we have the probability of establishment. It's the probability that a pathway exists, that the aquatic nuisance species arrives at that pathway, that it passes through it, that it can colonize on the other end in the new basin, and that that colony will spread. This was estimated qualitatively. When the time came to do a quantitative risk assessment, we, meaning the study team, thought it would be the easiest thing in the world to come up with 5 probabilities and multiply them all together. It turned out that life was a little bit more complicated than that. We have developed a number of models. The details here are not important. I'm just going to click through and point out this was a fish counting model, an idea that we looked at. Then there was something we called back to basics and simple models, and the models get more complicated and more complicated, and then they become simpler and simpler. And I'm going to show you some of that. But basically what has happened is that Congress has responded and said the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers' charge is to stop the upward, and so this would be upstream as I'm moving from the bottom left to the upper right, to stop the flow of aquatic nuisance species moving upward until a bi-directional solution can be found. That basically means stop the Asian carp at Brandon Roads Lock and Dam. So we are developing a quantitative risk assessment model now. It is a little bit more complicated than we originally imagined, and in subsequent videos I will show you some of the details of that particular model.